So it's actually really exciting, really invigorating, and really a lot of um, joy and excitement to see so much fervor around the whole issue of the Yoruba land, Oduduwa nation issue. It was one of those, it's one of those things that once it gets going, it just gets, um, it just gets more and more life. And, there was some talk about it during the June 12th protest the other day. And now it just seems like it's just gonna, like once an idea like that gets started, it just kind of lights a fire in people. So now, you have, some people are just gonna start imagining all the possibilities and really like feeling really excited about it. And I don't think that, I think that once people start getting on track, that's something that, they think would be really great. I don't think that it's gonna go away. Just like the Igbo land, the Biafra Nation idea, although that's existed for a lot longer. Their wish for that's been a lot longer. But I definitely think that the interest in having Yoruba land is not gonna die, because I think it's now that Yoruba people feel pushed to the point where they feel pushed to the point where um, they've kind of reached this point. I think it's kind of like, I think maybe it's like meant to be. So I think a lot of people are at a point where they think it's meant to be. So they're not really going to be interested in like, it's not going to go away until it manifests, until it comes true. So it's interesting to see there's a lot of fervor in it. There's a lot of excitement. And you know what I hear that is really fun to really get a hold of is that we're hearing now, like, I'm hearing a lot of talk about a lot of big ideas about, like, the kind of healthcare system people want, the kind of, like, just things like that they didn't really like. It just kind of seemed like throughout Nigerian elections, it seems like there was always a feeling, a sentiment that we can only do so much. Like, we're only going to get so much out of this. It was always kind of like, hopefully Buhari will, like, let it be somebody. Maybe they'll give the Igbo person a chance. Maybe they'll let it be like, maybe it'll end up being Tinubu, and then maybe we'll get just everything. Always seemed as if it was like you're only going to get so much out of it. So we kind of watch Ghana, we watch Rwanda, and we see their leaders really, they have really good presidents and a really good federal government, and we watch, and we're just like, we just are at the behest of whoever's in the Nigerian administration, because we don't see that improving so quickly. Despite the incompetency of really that core in Abuja, like, they're very, they're very stubborn about holding on to where they are. So I think a lot of times Nigerians just feel like, oh, maybe it'll be this, maybe. But once the idea of, like, once we got to the point with all the problems, all the insecurity problems that, they're having with us and everything, we got to the idea of what to do a nation, then people are like, oh, now we're really talking. Now we can really, and it makes a lot of sense, because in a country that, that's, the size that we are, and the amount of people that are there, it's just like, it's so hard to govern with, unless you it's almost a lot easier to govern if you did break it down into regions a lot more, and let the regions be independent, because then being able to get across to the people and really rally around them a useful cause, and discuss it with them and all that stuff becomes a lot easier. And it's really hard to do that the way it is. I mean, it's I think it would be a lot easier if it was a big country where everybody was, like, literate and savvy and on social media and stuff like that. But in Nigeria, it's kind of like 50-50, maybe not even that, but you have a large percentage of people who are not. So then you have to do the task of kind of like, the groundwork of trying to explain to them, like, oh, this is where we're going, this is why this is good. Don't just default to that because that's the way it always been. Don't. You have to go through the task of having to do that, to share with them and to, like, elaborate for them why this is good for us and why this will be good for your children, why this will be good for. It's a lot of work to do. And if you actually, and in smaller regions, that actually becomes a lot easier. And even in small regions, they'll all still be big countries. Like Oduduwa Nation will still be like probably, I don't know, 40 million, whatever, just by itself. So it's just like, there's even if you broke Nigeria up into like 4 different countries, they would all still be countries of like with, tens of millions in them. So they're not so yeah, in that situation, it's almost like, then people really being able to hone in on what they hope for will become so much easier, as opposed to just having people trying to get to narrow in and dig into that, where there's like a mass amount of information, a mass amount of like, uneducated information. It's just so easy for people to hide under all that fat, all the under on that lard. It's easy for them to to not have the best of intentions, and people not be able to really get across, whatever is of good service. In any case, so I'm really excited about this, and I'm really excited about the idea that, there's a lot of fervor behind this, and I don't think that's going to go away. I think it's going to stay, and people are going to keep reiterating that and sharing that and wanting that and dreaming of it. The late Abiola's wife had just the best vision about, everything she sees for it, and I just like. And they're just people like that can get people really excited and really behind more and more the idea of it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, but it definitely like seems like a worthwhile proposition at least, and it's something that's going to galvanize people, and they're going to hold on to it, and they're going to hold on to it until they see it come to fruition. And and one of the best things she was saying is about how how you in like the way Yoruba people are, that they're like really liberal, and you can have like a Muslim husband and a Christian wife, and they can live in the same house and like love each other, and not, I mean, the Bible says not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, but I definitely see that. Like when I was a little girl in Nigeria, it was like, we had families that were Muslim and were polygamous, and then we had families that were Christian and didn't believe in that. And there was no, there was no hard feelings, there was no disagreement, it's like the way Yoruba people are, and the way that, the Bible is that nobody knows everything until they get to heaven. So whoever you put at the top philosophically, let's just say like, you put like the really awesome Christians there. It's like even they only know in part. So we all only know in part until we get there. So the amount that you can put yourself above anybody else in terms of philosophy is like not really that much, as long as they're trying to be good. And what she said that was so awesome was that, because I didn't always understand that about myself, my like tendency not to make such a big deal about the fact that I may think that I see things more clearly than someone else, but I don't feel the need to hurt them or whatever. And she said it's because like Yoruba people understand that character trumps everything. And I'm like, that's what it is, and I just thought, well, that's so and that's really just what it is. Because at the end of the day, like what's so funny about this world is people think if they have a different philosophy than somebody else, that God will be like happy with them for like killing that person and shoving that person, or God will be, it's like, no, as long as they are in their character, trying to reach for something good, and you're trying to reach for something good, then that's it. You're good. There's no reason for you to think that, that you're better than them, or you have a right to punish them or whatever. And so I just thought that was like really, really, because sometimes it's like, I have a hard time kind of even understanding why it's such a big deal to people to tolerate somebody who has like, a different position on a religious, issue than they are. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, like I just said, even the people you put at the top of philosophically like being close to, because being like Christ just king, he's everything, was, whatever, depending on what, like, even they only know in part. So at the end of the day, it's like, you can't behave as if God is ever going to thank you for hurting somebody else because you're more right than they are. He's not. Like that version, that heaven does not exist. There is no heaven where God is like, because at the end of the day, he loves you more than, like, even the people who you disagree with and are done, he's trying to win. God is trying to win them over too. God is trying to love them too. God loves all of you. Like, and it's like it wouldn't make any sense. How good of a God would he be if he didn't? I mean, think about it. Think about how easy it is for for a person to be willing to die for another, to be willing to die. We always talk about how people are selfish, this or this, that, but let's be real here. You know, like if like, you know, like Muhammad Yunus says, like people are both selfish and selfless. Like if you look at think about how many times you've been with who in this world you'd be willing to die for? Who do you? I have people that I'd be willing to die for that I love so much, and I'm assuming that other people do too. So I guess the point I'm making is that that at the end of the day, when we get so caught up in religious differences that we think that there's some God that's going to thank us for shoving the other person, it's completely like, it's completely bogus. And it just comes from human insecurity and nothing else. And so in any case, my point stays the same, is that I'm excited about the focus on the issue of Oduduwa Nation, even though I'm not there. But I'm excited for it anyway, because I see the potential too. I see the potential the way others see the potential, and I welcome it. I welcome the prospect of it, and it just seems like a really exciting thing for the people, and I support it, and I'll be there. And I think it'll go really well, because like in Nigeria, you're not gonna have like it just because they're gonna if the country decided to become 4 different regions in that way, it doesn't mean everybody doesn't love each other. It doesn't mean everybody's not going to visit each other. They're going to be excited to. Everybody's going to be looking at what the other person has going, and they'll be learning from it. And I think it has tremendous potential for good. And it'll be easier for people to manage their own business once they're not all like, once they're not obsessed with trying to keep each other in check, or instead they can just kind of look to what's going on in the other region and be like, I like what they're doing over there, we should try that. Or I like what they're doing over there, it'll be more, it'd be more equitable and more like, the promise of everybody can be realized. Everybody can lift up and lift each other up. So that's what I see. That's my vision for it. It's that it's all good, and it's going to help everybody be able to support each other and do well. Yeah.